and welcome back to another episode of Over the Glass. I am your host, Jay.
I'm co-host Nessa. Missing our co-host today, but we're trucking along. I just want to comment on your hoodie today because loving the colors, loving the Bay FC rep. They just had their, I believe they just had their college draft a few days ago in Anaheim. Did you keep up with any of that?
I saw that we have a number of locals that they drafted, so that will be exciting just as a whole. The whole Bay Area proud and all that good stuff. But this whole week has just been a blur. Like I barely caught
I feel it.
any hockey. I am saddened that I didn't get to catch any of the PWHL. There's a game going on in like the next hour, so maybe I'll be able to check out the latter half of that. But yeah, this whole week has just been like
Yeah.
nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I feel that. I also haven't been spending too much time on socials this week. Your girl is employed again. Started my first day on Friday, and it's just been an interesting
wow.
adjustment. I know it took so long, but we are here. We are getting ready to set up the. I don't know. I'm just trying to do better for
Getting that
myself now.
monies again.
Yeah, I'll be working for a florist, and she said that I think she's willing to help to teach me how to make arrangements. So I'm excited for that. I'll be making some bouquets.
Cool. Whatever keeps your float afloating.
Floating, yes. Why are they called floats when they don't even float? They're on the street. Parade floats.
We're not here to answer those questions.
you
won't find those answers here on this podcast.
Okay, my bad. I wanted to ask you if you saw this thread that popped up on my feed I guess today I saw it. Someone named Amanda, who goes by at Shattered Lens TX, I'm assuming Texas. My hot take of the day: adults deserve pucks from players too, not just the kiddos. I've seen a lot of disappointed adults lately on this matter. Not everyone who asks for a puck is a greedy fan. And then she had like this thread that kind of explains her take on this. I wanted to know your opinion on how you feel about players giving adults pucks or sticks or whatever, not just children.
I mean, yeah, I would like a puck and a stick, and I've seen players do it, and I don't feel like that should be in any way segregated with, oh, you're 18 now. Well, by the laws that be, you're no longer eligible for a puck or a stick. But
The hockey laws.
I have seen, like, I don't like when a player's throwing a puck over the glass and some adult reaches like 6 feet above a kid to go snatch it away from them. So in that scenario, I'm like, you should give it to the kid, but I
Right.
don't think there's an age limit for that.
No, I agree. Some of us, me specifically, did not get into hockey until we were already adults. So we didn't get to experience the whole up against the glass with our little signs and be like, "It's my first game. I'd like a puck." You know, you don't get the the what do you call it? The privilege of a hockey player saying, "Oh, a kid there wants one of these pucks." You know. Also, like with the sticks thing, sometimes they're nice enough to give them to adults too. I don't always want to pay for them. I have a couple sticks, but they were paid for. I didn't pay for them, but they were paid for. They're expensive. You know, I'd like what do you call it? Memorabilia for whatever games that I was at or whatever. I don't see why it's a big deal. Also, there are some adults that kind of make it a bigger deal than it should be. Like if a player comes up, like gives a puck to another adult, and then they come up to them and like, "Aren't you going to give it to the kid?" Like, no, the player gave it to me. They didn't point at the kid. It's such a weird sports thing because I think I've seen this in baseball as well. where the players toss the baseballs over, and then I don't know. It's just a silly little thing that happens.
Uh, yeah, I mean, more times than not, I'm don't really care too much to get any of that stuff. But in the case of like my dream is to get a stick from Mika Zibanejad. Am I going to get one? Probably not. But if I were in the scenario where he comes by and he's like going to give me a stick and someone else takes it uh, from me, I would be upset. But more times than not, I generally don't go down there first pucks and won't care if I don't snag the puck. But for just, I guess, just common courtesy and like, don't be, so judgy about like little things. Like, yeah, I guess that's all I have to say about that.
Me too. Be nice to people. Let them have their fun. That's it. On the topic of being judgy, I will be judgy for this next little topic here. I'm sure that a lot of you saw that the NHL put out a PR release regarding, what does it say? National teams, the Israeli national team's eligibility for and in participation in upcoming IIHF events. I'm gonna be a little petty here. We clearly have our love-hate relationship with the NHL as a league. Love the sport, hate the way they conduct themselves around specific situations. This is one of those situations where the IIHF apparently has, I don't know if they've banned them or they've talked about banning the Israeli national team from participating in tournaments coming up in the future or whatever because of what's happening currently in Gaza. I'm sure you're all aware what's happening over there because it's been 100 days today of genocide. um, I've never heard of an Israeli national hockey team until I saw
I've heard of
this.
it.
Until I saw this. I'm not saying that they don't have one. I just said me personally, have never heard of one. I've never seen them competing in any of these tournaments. I also see a double standard or a hypocrisy in them putting out a statement like this for Israel versus what happened with Russia when they invaded Ukraine, right? We don't support bullies. And that's just a nice way of saying this is messed up what's happening in the world, and this is not, this is, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but this is dumb. This pissed me off when I saw the statement.
So I do want to add in what the IIHF had said
Okay.
that led to this statement. The International Ice Hockey Federation has barred Israel from competing in its World Championship events, citing security concerns. The IIHF said in a statement issued Wednesday that its ruling council, quote, has decided to restrict Israeli national team from participating in the IIHF championships until the safety and well-being of all participants, including Israeli participants, can be assured. The IIHF Council took this decision after careful consideration and based on the risk assessment, discussing with the participating countries and discussions with the hosts. End quote.
Okay. Just based off that, I don't really see a problem with it, right? If it's security concerns, whether or not it's because they are trying to protect the players or just trying to keep any big thing happening at one of their events because of what's happening. You see all these protests with hundreds of thousands of people who are pro Palestine, like supporting Palestine and free state. But there's also the complications between the way people are feeling towards Israel because of what they're doing, right? I think they're trying to do something, prevent anything from happening at their events. I don't understand why the NHL felt the need to put a statement out. especially in support of Israel when they've never really have said anything like this before for anything else.
I have a lot of thoughts that are kind of swimming through my head, and I don't have them in a collective spot that I want to speak openly about it in terms of the obviously we know why the NHL did it because they just like talk out of their ass. Um, from that statement, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with what they're doing, and but like we've been seeing in outside of hockey, there's a lot of energy coming from the pro Palestinian side, the pro Israeli side, and I just don't feel like I have room to care about the IIHF right now because this is beyond hockey at this point, and we're talking about like, oh, how dare you restrict the Israeli national team? And it's like I at this point like I don't even care in this context about the hockey aspect of it. I care about what's going on over there right now. I feel guilty every time I have the privilege to scroll by something. I feel helpless in what to do. I just low key go through my day just like guilty for reasons that I can't like put into words. And to see people who are upset that the IHF is discriminating against a country that is performing essentially genocide on who should just like at the end of the day just be a neighbor. You're the guys that are like, yeah, I just don't know what else to say.
No,
I
it's
just
fine.
I just saw that and I couldn't put any space in my heart to care about the hockey side of what's going on with this conflict because it's irrelevant. Like we should be focusing on ending what's going on right now in
That's
Gaza.
completely valid. Right, 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 right. I think when I saw this statement, the last little bit pissed me off because I've gone through my own emotional roller coaster with that situation, between obviously anger, a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, a lot of anxiety over the images that I've seen with the people I follow on socials. And yeah, I mean, sure, hockey doesn't matter in this context, right? It really doesn't. There's something bigger at play here, but I think the way that the NHL decides to insert themselves in a situation like this and say, quote, we urge the IHF to take whatever steps necessary to address its concerns as expeditiously as possible so that Israel excuse me, so that Israeli national teams are not unfairly excluded from future events for which they are eligible and have qualified, unquote. That rubbed me the wrong way because is it really unfair? like, like I said, there's that double standard where they immediately banned Russia from any tournaments after what happened with Ukraine, and yet here we are trying like all these companies pretending that Israel isn't openly admitting to committing the crimes that they are, right? There are a lot of feelings and I could go on and on about this, but I just wanted to highlight this for a moment because this seems really important and I just didn't want to sweep it under the rug type thing. This is obviously something that I hold dear to my heart. This is like I also feel very helpless. I can't really help. I'm not really capable of going out to protest as much as I want to for whatever health reasons. I have made art, and that's like my outlet so far. But yeah, just wanted to talk about this for a little bit. On a lighter note, the All Star jerseys have been leaked.
I don't know if I saw it on the official NHL website, but sure, they're out there. Well, I mean, it looks like they're ready for purchase, so not so leaked after all, I guess.
So it was like a planned leak. So I saw pictures of this. I think it was literally just the jerseys, not people wearing them. And I was like, what the hell? First reaction. Second reaction, when I actually saw them on a person, I was like, okay, they look better on a body than they do just flat. But then I started seeing the memes coming out. People making fun of them. They're
My favorite
comparing.
one was the Doritos one.
Yeah. I saw the Doritos bags and I was like, oh wow, they are very similar. So at first I didn't care for them. I still don't. I wouldn't go out and buy them myself, but I think they're trying to do something different here where it is leaning a bit more towards streetwear kind of fashion as opposed to what people in the NHL fans are used to. And that's why so many people are complaining because a sport full of a bunch of whiteys, what are they going to do with streetwear? So I feel like the criticism is a little bit unfair there. It's just a different culture. You're not used to it. Fine, but I don't know. NHL fans are really hard to please regardless, so it is what it is.
Yeah, so when I saw them, I was like, "Oh, that's really different." I didn't have a extreme opinion about them. I just kind of let them sit in my brain, and we'll we'll address that at another time when I have a moment to myself. But just seeing all of the memes, that was that was the fun aspect of seeing them come out and people's opinions about it. But yeah, I kind of, when I saw that, well, surprise, surprise, Justin Bieber is going to be, part of the All Star weekend, and it looks like his company or whatever is connected with the designing of it. So also not surprising because this has that bit of personality that he's brought to. What was the other thing that he did? The Inside Out
The black
um,
Leafs jerseys that they did.
plagiarism of the Sharks all
Yeah.
black jersey. Yeah, the little star thing. Like it makes sense, and people are gonna buy it. I think there will be a market for it. Yeah, it is extremely different and not at all conservative as the ones that they've had in the past, but I can see the direction of it. And I think they're fun, but I personally am not going to get one. But
Right.
I've also never gotten any of the All Star jerseys, so it's not like it's out of all the years, I will specifically not get this one. Like it, I just personally won't be getting them because I don't get All Star jerseys. But I think they're nice. I think it taps into a more energetic vibe. Whether that will translate to All Stars was yet to be seen, but I think it's nice. I
Yeah,
think it's
it's
nice to
different.
go in this direction. Yeah.
It's refreshing, right? Because it's not the usual black and white that they're trying to do with the logos. It's not the just the regular plain NHL crest that they've done in previous years. I feel the primary colors are kind of like, yeah, sure, okay. Like I'm not super crazy about them, the colors they picked, because it doesn't really tie into Toronto except for the blue. But I don't know. It's what it reminds me of? Super Mario Brothers. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the stars. I don't know if it's the colors. But that's like the video game that popped into my head. I'm not mad at it. I'm curious to see what the other merch looks like the hats and other shirts and things, and like what the full setup's gonna look like with the socks and pants and stuff. I don't hate it. I'm not mad at it.
I'm indifferent.
It is what it is.
Just like the All Stars, I'm indifferent.
Yeah, I have one All Star jersey, and it was the one where the Sharks held the event here because I went to the skills competition. And so I was like, I have to get a jersey. I'm here. I just got
Mm.
a plain one. And it was cool because for that one they did the Parley one. I think that's the name, Parley, where some bits of the jersey were made out of recycled plastics or something, which ties into the whole sharks ocean conservation, even though they don't really do anything with ocean conservation. But still. All right, speaking of the sharks. I came across this image literally as we were setting up today for this. And I guess a fan went to the Sharks game. I don't know who it was again. Oh, the Senators. And instead of buying a whole jersey to support the Sharks, this person, this he looks like a college kid, went out of his way, bought a whole white t-shirt and a black Sharpie, wrote Sharks across the chest. It looks like he tried writing a number on the sleeve and made a poster that says Sharks 2024 Stanley Cup champions. I don't
Manifest it. Manifest it. We're gonna now go on a how many other games we have left streak.
Yeah, 40
This is our moment.
we're gonna make a comeback just like those 2019 Blues. It's gonna be our year. No, this image cracked me up. I should do this. I don't have money for a jersey. Let me just make my own. This was fun. This gave me a good giggle this morning, so I just wanted to share that.
On to something that looked way neater. Pride events are coming about around this time, and the Florida Panthers, despite everything that's going on in Florida right now, I think they put on a pretty good party. And their jerseys in the last couple of years have been really nice. And this one in particular, designed by Enrique Serino.
Cirino, yeah.
Okay. And he is originally from Venezuela and lives now in South Florida? Is that what it says? Personally, I am just loving all the colors. I particularly love the nails. Like I think that's just like a lovely touch to the panther. And then we
You know
are
what it reminds me
fierce.
of? The Patrick meme with the long nails and the makeup. Oh, anyways, continue.
That was pretty much it. That's what I was
Oh.
gonna say.
No, I
Just
like
the
the
nails,
colors.
the we are fierce. I have to take a look at it in a little more detail with all like the it looks like street art in the background in that shield
Mm-hmm.
that the panther is coming out of.
I kind of like that he used some neon colors because I feel like a lot of, well, I don't know if it's queer people or just more gay men. They like to go raving, right? That's
Mm,
part of their culture, and that's full of neon colors. I also noticed that one of their the patches, you know, the scratch that they have, the rainbow scratch that he did. I really like that. That's cute. It's very colorful. This is great. I love this. Okay, we all know Lexi Brown. We talk about her lots on this podcast because we love her. We stand Lexi Brown.
she's family.
She's funny. I guess on her TikTok, someone had made a comment to her that said, "Imagine your entire personality is your spouse's job." She decided to go on a whole rant about it and say, like, yeah, my whole life is revolved around hockey because I'm married to this man who apparently, when she was pregnant, they had to like, what is the word? Induce her pregnancy.
Induce, yeah. He's not off somewhere and he misses out on the pregnancy, but it is kind of like,
It's
yeah,
wild.
that's a little insane.
It is. The fact that she's like, they weren't even a playoff contender. Like, why not just give him the day off? That's just crazy to me. The fact that you have to literally hold off giving birth to your child because your husband has a game to play. Oh boy. But no, she went on this whole rant and she's really funny about it.
He like had to go somewhere to to play hockey for like 4 months and left her with like the two kids.
Oh, in Sweden or something. Yeah, that plus she was complaining about having to play or live in Florida during the 2016 election.
Or
She's like,
had
"You
to
think
pretend that the Anaheim Ducks were like gonna go on this cup run in 2017.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, she's great. She's hilarious. This rant, so good. But then she's like, "Yeah, of course, but I'm glad it's hockey that my life revolves around because I love it, you know?" But yes, go watch that rant if you haven't. She's great. Jay has retweeted it if you follow them, so check it out.
So I wanted to talk about yesterday's game. I didn't see it, but it was the Leafs against the Avalanche, and I saw that the Leafs went up 3-0 early in the game, and I'm like, okay, sure. And I saw this tweet where I don't know who the folks are involved. I think that they are somehow connected with Steve, and I believe the person who was rooting for the Avalanche, because I watched Steve's LFR like after that game just to like get a sense of what happened because the Leafs ended up losing 5-3 to the Avs, and I'm just curious. I'm just curious what happened because I love train wrecks, as you can see with the Sharks. Um, but so I believe this person is the guy who edits his LFR videos, as he mentioned in the LFR. And there's like, if you go watch it, it's a good time because the producer is like putting like his little like like his little like pokes at how Steve was like, "Hey man, how's the game?" Like he tweeted at him, just like covering his face and not wanting to be there when the Avs went down by 3 goals, only to have it come back and the Avs win 5-3. And this in itself is the reason I'm superstitious when I watch hockey. I will not make any like I have to wait until the game is over before I unleash all of my like silliness
Yeah.
and like poking at anybody who's on the opposing team because stuff like this happens. And I feel like I have the power to cause this effect. That's why I don't like to say anything. Um, and I just thought it was kind of amusing that this came back to bite him in the butt. People were like, quote, tweeting him, being like, "How's the game going, Steve?"
It went great, apparently. That's funny. Yeah, I try not to talk smack during a game because, especially right now with the Sharks, like you just never know if they're looking good 1 second, the next they're probably gonna fall apart.
And it's
Speaking,
also a good reminder why not to give up until the very last second. Like the game against the Senators, what, 4 point something left seconds in the game, and then they get the game winning goal. Or we could go back to the one of the last times the Sharks were in the playoffs against Vegas, and we were down 3-0, 10 minutes left in the game. We get that major penalty, should not have been a major, but it is what it is, and we ended up scoring, to go to overtime, and then we win the series. And I remember that moment. We talked about it numerous times here, that all of my hope was pretty much like drained from me. Like the Sharks just looked completely out of it. It just looked like the season was whittling down, only to have them come back and to win the whole thing, which is one of the greatest feelings as a fan. Um, it's funny that at work this week, we got into some like talk during my weekly meeting where my supervisor was talking about like how soccer is like such a boring sport and how he doesn't understand when people are like, "Oh, that was like such a great game," and he's like, "What? Like no one scored. Like how was it great?" And it's like it's the skill aspect of it that I admire about soccer. Like I don't play the sport. I have zero hand foot coordination. Um, but one like I know when I try to get folks into hockey, I understand why it is less exciting when you have absolutely no idea like how this game is played, what anybody's doing, all this stuff. But it's like once you kind of like understand all that stuff, like it gets exponentially exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And I tend to lean towards the sports that are kind of low scoring because you just there's just so much more joy of the build up to finally getting that payoff at the end.
Yeah.
So to each their own, but that's how I feel.
I think the low scoring games are more of a battle. Uh, as a fan, it could be a little bit more stressful, but in a good way, right? Because you're like, maybe they'll score this time. Maybe they'll score this time. Whereas if it's a blowout, if you're a fan of the winning team, that's a really fun game because you're cheering constantly, right? You're very
But
engaged.
is it though?
Yeah.
Like how? Okay, let's take for example the games where the Sharks like lost 10 to whatever.
Right. As a fan of the
After like
Sharks, terrible game for you. Terrible. But if you're a fan of the other team, you're like, this is
but
amazing.
the fact that the Sharks were so terrible, are you really cheering at like goals 7, 8, 9, 10? Like, is it really like as exciting as you're saying it's going to be? For me, I don't think it's as exciting because it's like, wow, this team is really bad. Like,
Yes,
it's almost
but
sad that they're getting scored against.
I think it also depends how you're watching. Because if you're watching at home, then yeah, you're just like, okay, another goal, whatever. If you're there and the fans are into it, it can be real fun. Because I was at a Sharks Ducks game where I think the Sharks shut them out 7-0, and that was a fun game. You know, the crowd was super into it. I mean, yes, it was a playoff game, but also there I just remember the I think the score was 6-0, and then all of a sudden the whole crowd starts chanting, "We want 7," right? And everyone's super into it and they're going, and then the Sharks scored the 7th goal and everyone's going out of their minds. So, I think it depends.
I think it might depend on the team. Like if it's a game against like the Ducks or like the Kings, like some kind of like
Rivalry, yeah, that's true.
additional storyline behind it, like the soap opera aspect of it. I think that's where it could be fun because of the rivalry, but like the game one of the games against the Leafs, like I could see after a while that the Leafs fans were just getting up and they were just cheering, like, "Oh, that was a good goal." They weren't like, "Yeah," and like I personally wouldn't be like, "Whoa!" Like at 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even see it in like beer league. Like those are like beer league like scores. Like by after like the sixth goal, if you're like up like 6-0 on the other team, they're not like jumping out of the bench to like cheer. They're just like, okay, we scored another one.
Yeah, I guess it depends how drunk everyone around you is and how into the game they are.
But something like if you've got friends that are obviously on the opposing team, it is like cool to be like,
In your
yeah,
face.
like in
Ah.
your face. But yeah, if it's there, if there's nothing, if it's like the Sharks against Carolina or something. Like we don't have anything to do with Carolina. It if they go up like 10-1, like
Yeah, okay.
okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Like yeah, the Sharks are 32nd in the league. Like it's
Whoop de
not
doo. What an achievement.
everyone saw that coming. Like cool. Like you're actually helping us right now. Thank you.
You did what you're supposed to.
Um
Amazing.
so speaking of Steve Dangle, who by extension is the founder, co-owner of SDPN Sports, There was some unfortunate news that came out earlier this week that Game Over is finished. Um, if you've been following this podcast long enough, you've had the privilege of seeing that we had a couple of their folks come on to the pod, and they're just genuinely like amazing folks who just have this passion just like we do to start up from nothing. I mean, granted, they had the assistance of an established network as the SDPN is, but you know, if you go back far enough, Steve Dangle started just like where we all are, and it looked like Game Over, while it was originally a project started by Andrew Berkshire. And from what I understand, there was a chat between the two parties. They came to a agreement that, you know, let's expand on this. Let's get all the other Canadian teams a platform, and let's get some folks that are just, you know, like we are, just fans that wanted to have a place to talk, and you know, all that good stuff. And you know, they had a good run for a couple years, and from what we learned from the most recent episode of the Sea Dangle podcast is that they started out with a model that worked at the time for them, and you know, things change. We you know, from our standpoint, we're not quite sure what that's about, but it did sound like they let everyone go in the best way possible. They didn't want to lay off people, but you know, they were trying to give folks a opportunity that like had a financial benefit to it, and the fact that they could no longer sustain that, you know, you have to make those hard decisions. And it seemed like from the handful of statements that I saw from members of Game Over, it sounded like no bad blood, that they understood. They got personal phone calls from Dangle himself, which I think is, you know, the best way to go about it. You don't just like send some like text message or some email being like, you know, just saying, and you could do it, but you know, the fact that they really cared for these folks, and they felt really bad about it, and they had to make that hard decision. I think the best way to go about it is to give them a call, let them know, let them see that, you know, you want to deliver that news personally to them. And as a podcast that not get any financial benefits, like I really do feel for the crew over at Game Over, that you know, they had this opportunity that is very few and far in between in this industry, and it's over now, and who knows what, you know, the future holds.
Yeah, it sucks. I think so. We watched the little bit of their podcast together, and I think I really liked what they had to say about the how they handled the process. Like you said, they basically gave them personal phone calls and did it. It sounds like they did it as gently as possible to deliver some really bad news, which is more than you can ask for as an employee of any company, right? Like I've been through a layoff before once, only once, once and a half. It's not a fun process. You know, these bigger, more corporate type companies, they don't care. They just see you as a number and they deliver the news pretty, what's the word? It's like blunt. Even if, you know, you get a heads up, like layoffs are coming, just be prepared in case you're one of them. You still don't take the news very well. You know, it still hits you pretty hard. And so for them to go out of their way to be like, listen, we believed in you, we still believe in you, it's just like this isn't working for us right now. And obviously they have to look out for their company as well, because that's their income, you know. It's a sucky situation for everyone involved, but I think they handled it in a really classy way. So
I mentioned this when Lauren was on. One of the things that I really liked about the Game Over expansion is just the diversity of voices and the representation. And so, like, in that sense, you know, we can relate a lot to what they were trying to build with the expansion. And it's like to see all these folks all of a sudden now don't really have that platform anymore. And it's like, it's not to say that they can't, it's just like, we know with us doing this podcast, it is a lot of work. It is a lot of like passion that we put into it. And one of the things that was really frustrating for me to see, and I try not to, you know, look past the initial tweets because it just gets kind of ugly in those threads, you know, just people just like forgetting that there's a human behind, you know, a tweet as genuine as somebody who's just really distraught by the fact that they all of a sudden their life changed, regardless of if, you know, if it was just like a side gig or it was like their full-time thing. It's like they still put a lot of heart and, you know, and their joy of following the sport and being able to engage and, you know, have the ability to make a little bit of something for their efforts, and to see all that and to minimize it to, well, you just hop on and you talk to a camera and you just talk about hockey, like, you know, what's the big deal? I just, I think people just need to step away for a moment and just realize that like it doesn't, you don't need to be like an engineer or a doctor to validate like the worth of what you're putting out in the world. Like, folks should be able to make a little something just for, you know, for something that makes them happy. And if that goes away and all they were doing was just spreading a little like happiness and joy to, like, they got like quite a lot of views, and maybe it wasn't sustainable for whatever the reason that financially they couldn't keep going. It's still, there were several hundred people who they were making very happy to tune in every day. And so if you're saying like, oh, well, I didn't really like the content, it's like, then that content wasn't for you.
right, why do you have to comment on it then?
And why comment on something that where somebody is upset about their something changing in their life that meant so much to them, and you saying, oh, well, I mean, it, you literally were just talking to a webcam, like, calm down, like, your life's not over. It's
That's not the point.
like, then move along. Like, I like, you
Yeah,
obviously don't care about any of this. Like, why do you need to bother saying any of that?
it's like people aren't allowed to find a little bit of joy and get paid for it, you know. You have to be miserable at your job and then you know you're successful. That's what it comes across as. Yeah, well, sending lots of love to the Game Over peeps, because I mean it sucks, whether, like you said, whether it was their full-time job or, you know, just a side gig. It's not fun news to get ever. It's because, you know, it is like a little thing that they do for the joy. Like you don't come and talk about hockey just for the hell of it. It's because you genuinely enjoy talking about hockey.
And so I guess we'll end on, you know, if any of the Game Over SDPN folks who just want to have another spot to chat, we're always open to having folks come on and talk hockey with us. Like, we talk about just pretty much really anything that's going on in the hockey world, and we'd be happy to welcome you on to just, you know, get a little bit of that feeling back. So reach out to us if you want to. And other than that, we hope that there's more opportunities that, like that you can put your passion towards. It's sad that one door closes, but hopefully another one is going to open soon.
Yeah. We can't pay you, but you can have fun with us.
Yeah. Sorry, we don't have monies, but we'll bring the good vibes and all that good stuff. So, all right. Well, that's going to conclude it for us this week. As always, I'm your host, Jay.
I'm Nessa. Thanks for joining us, guys. Bye.
Bye.